as a growing number of Democratic lawmakers call on President Biden to step aside. We're learning more about whether voters agree. According to a new poll, 67% of respondents say Joe Biden should not continue his campaign. That includes a majority of his own supporters. Ashley Etienne and Matt Gorman join us now. Ashley served as communications director for Vice President Kamala Harris, and Matt is a Republican strategist who served as a senior advisor to Senator Tim Scott's presidential campaign. Thank you both so much for being here. So, Ashley, we see these polls, but they're not exactly asking, does that mean you won't vote for Joe Biden, right? So does he have time to turn this around?
He absolutely does, but he's continues to bleed support. They've not stopped the bleeding. I mean, it's three audiences he's got to be concerned with. One is the political class, the members of Congress. He's still bleeding a lot of that support, and not just in terms of numbers, but he's now losing support among members that are in key states that he has to win in the election, in these battleground states. Those members and their opinions matter more. The second is he's bleeding donors. The donor class is someone that he has to convince. And the third is the grassroots, and now they're meeting with delegates. Delegates are waking up asking, what does this mean for me and for us? So the problem, I feel like the president's problems are only mounting. And, I'm a crises communicator, and I've worked in that building twice, and I've just been shocked by how feckless to a degree my former colleagues have been in terms of trying to change the narrative and turn the page.
What should they be doing that they're not doing?
Well, I mean, I think it was a mistake that the president didn't go up to meet with the caucus, or that he didn't call into the caucus meeting. I mean, your main concern is you've got to temper anxieties of these members of Congress when they're around reporters all week, and you can anticipate that they were going to get cornered and asked these questions. The other thing they can do is more strategically utilize the vice president. I appreciate that she's in North Carolina, but maybe she should have been meeting with senators. They sent up the campaign staff, and the campaign staff members walked away feeling not satisfied by what they heard. So that's, the other thing is you got NATO here. I've not even seen Blinken on television. Maybe he's busy in meetings, but there's plenty of opportunity for them to try to change the narrative and turn the page, and they're not doing that. And I will say that's not engendering any confidence from the caucus.
And Matt, speaking of congressional Democrats, the NRCC is now rolling out attack ads, attacking the down ballot candidates. Can you talk about how you think, the situation Joe Biden is in could impact those races?
Sure. I think, look, the panic you're seeing in the Democrat is because they probably had polls come back on Monday and Tuesday, and they woke up on Wednesday morning not liking where they were down ballot. And the NRCC, I think, has been very savvy with this because, look, there's a crisis in the White House right now in the campaign about what Joe Biden's future is. But then that cascades down ballot. We're certainly seeing who are two people that didn't go to the Senate meeting today, John Tester and Sherrod Brown. You have NRCC having trackers at the airports asking whether or not members of Congress not even want Joe Biden to be the nominee, but whether they can stay in office. And you have Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, who's a vulnerable Democrat out in Washington, saying floating that he might need to resign, let alone be the nominee. So they're smartly taking the situation, which is at the White House and the campaign, and making sure that Democrats down ballot feel the heat for it. It's smart.
And Ashley, I want to talk about some of those Democrats because your other former boss, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, despite everything that Joe Biden is saying, that he has made a decision that he is not leaving the race, she spoke very clearly yesterday and said that she hopes he comes to, a decision. What does it tell you that she's willing to come out in public and say and suggest that he is still deciding?
Well, she also said yesterday that she thinks that he can win in November. So I think that's also very important. But I think what she's doing strategically, and I've seen her do this many times, which is provide the caucus some space to deliberate among itself, to air out their grievances. They're going to, my understanding, what I'm hearing internally from the caucus, they're going to take those grievances, Mr. Jeffries, I think, said this today, to the White House, directly to the president, and lay them out for him, and then let him make an informed decision. I think that's her position on it. Not that he has not made a decision, but is it fully informed by all of the dynamics? And they weren't on Monday. But the other thing, too, is, members don't really take too lightly to you sending them a letter telling them to sit down and shut up, and go with it. So I think that he's got a lot more work to do. And she's also providing the president that space to do that work.
Well, and Matt, Donald Trump is giving a lot of space to the Democrats and to Joe Biden, and I'm told that that is their strategy right now. Do Republicans want Joe Biden to remain on the ticket? Is that their best bet, they think?
Look, if Joe Biden's the nominee, this race is going to be about him and his fitness for office, right? If Kamala's the nominee or somebody else, look, I think it's going to be only Kamala at this stage, then the race was about what we thought it'd be 2 weeks ago, right? Immigration, economy, and crime. So it kind of goes back to what it was a little bit pre-debate. But you're right. I think there's an intentional strategy here. And I'd say this regardless of the party, right? When your opponent is self-immolating, essentially, stand back. Don't insert yourself in it. And I think this speaks to, there's been a lot better discipline and a lot more of a professional organization around Trump for his third run. And I think what you're seeing is that come into play at times like this.
And very quickly for both of you, we're less than an hour away from President Biden's press conference. What will each of you be watching for?
I think there's going to be a lot of Democrats holding their breath, watching every minute of it. I think it's, watching for how strong he is. How coherently does he present his ideas? And if he does and he comes out of this thing looking strong, I mean, Democrats will have, especially those that are Team Biden, will have an argument that the president has now proven through an interview, through several interviews, through a press conference, through rallies and speeches, that he's with it, in that was an episode. It was episodic, that was just a bad night.
I'm waiting to see for how quickly, when he leaves the stage, does the cascade of press releases from House Democrats and congressional Democrats start coming. Because, look, I thought he was going to gut this out if you asked me about 72 hours ago. The last 48 hours, 24 hours, I think that's no longer the case. I'm waiting to see if it's just a matter of time and people are waiting for NATO and the press conference to end to still call for it.
All right, Matt Gorman, Ashley Etienne, we will be waiting alongside with you. Thanks. You so much.